The Seven Briefs. 7 Reasons King Jaja of Opobo was brought down. Presented by the 7 Briefs. In the lush delta lands of southern Nigeria, there once ruled a man who defied the odds, rewrote his destiny, and built an empire from nothing. His name wasn't born into royalty. He wasn't handed power. He carved it with vision, courage, and fire. King Jaja of Opobo, a former slave, turned king, turned legend. But even legends can fall. Today, we unveil 7 major reasons King Jaja, the merchant king of the Niger Delta, was betrayed, exiled, and erased from the throne he built with his bare hands. 1. From slave to sovereign. A threat from the start, Jaja was born Mbanaso Okwara Ozurumba, a boy from Igbo land who was kidnapped and sold into slavery. But even in chains, his brilliance couldn't be caged. He rose through the ranks of his slave master's business in Bani, mastering trade, negotiation, and the power of influence. Eventually, he broke free, not just from slavery, but from the system itself. He established the Kingdom of Opobo in 1870, controlling palm oil exports and becoming a powerful merchant king in his own right. But to European powers, he wasn't a ruler. He was a threat to the status quo, because Jaja was proof of what Africans could become, if left unchained. 2. He controlled the oil, and that made him dangerous. Long before crude oil shaped Nigeria, it was palm oil that ruled the global economy. Britain depended on it for machinery, soaps, and industrial expansion. And Jaja? He monopolized it. He didn't just produce oil, he blocked European traders from dealing directly with the interior tribes. All oil came through Opobo. All routes led to him. All profits passed his throne. This independence enraged the British. To them, Jaja was too powerful, too ambitious, and worst of all, too African to be this successful. And when a black king controls your gold mine, you don't ask nicely, you plot. 3. He refused to bow to British trade tactics. Jaja was sharp and suspicious. He knew that British trade treaties were just colonial tools in disguise. They tried to lure him with offers to open his markets. He refused. They sent emissaries. He sent warnings. Jaja understood the game of economic warfare. He taxed foreign traders, regulated port access, and insisted on sovereignty over his waters. He was defending Opobo's independence, but the British saw defiance. And in their empire, no African had the right to say no. 4th British lies sealed his fate. In 1887, the trap was set. British consul Harry Johnston invited Jaja to a peaceful negotiation aboard a British warship. Jaja agreed, trusting protocol, not knowing it would be the last time he'd see his kingdom. Once aboard, the doors were locked, the sails raised, and Jaja was kidnapped, exiled to the Caribbean island of St. Vincent, then Barbados. No trial, no resistance, just deception wrapped in diplomacy. The British called it removal, but history knows it as betrayal. 5. His people were left leaderless and vulnerable. When Jaja vanished, Opobo collapsed into confusion. The man who had unified rival factions, protected trade routes, and balanced diplomacy with force was gone. Without his leadership, Opobo's defenses faltered. The British moved quickly, seizing control of the ports, flooding the region with cheap goods, and dismantling Jaja's economic empire. His loyal chiefs were outmaneuvered, his people disillusioned. And slowly, Opobo became just another pawn on the colonial chessboard. 6. Even in exile, he remained a symbol. So they kept him away. In Barbados, Jaja didn't break. He adapted, he governed himself, he studied, he wrote letters. His resilience became legend. His story spread across West Africa, a king in chains still unbent. Pressure mounted for his return. Nigerian chiefs petitioned. African voices rose. Even some in Britain felt ashamed. In 1891, under growing pressure, the British finally agreed. Jaja could come home. But before he reached Opobo, he mysteriously died in transit. Poisoned? Silenced? Forgotten? We may never know, but history rarely kills a man it fears by accident. 7. He was ahead of his time, and that cost him everything. Jaja wasn't just a king, he was a visionary. He saw a future where Africans owned their trade, governed their lands, and stood as equals on the global stage. He fought with contracts instead of cannons, with tactics instead of terror, and that made him dangerous in a different way. Because unlike warlords, Jaja couldn't be dismissed as barbaric. He was intelligent, strategic, diplomatic, and for colonial powers, that made him unforgivable. King Jaja of Opobo didn't fall because he failed. He fell because he dared to succeed. Subscribe to the 7 Briefs for more untold truths, because Africa's forgotten heroes deserve to rise again.